So the UFC's debut on Paramount Plus, that was a huge deal, right? And the biggest question on everyone's mind wasn't really about the fights themselves. It was all about the numbers. So let's get into it. We're going to break down the data from that first major event and see what it really tells us.
All right, check this out. The first number that got everyone talking was this one, 4.96 million. Now, that's a massive figure, no doubt. But what does it actually mean? Let's, peel back the layers here. Okay, so where did this number come from? Well, it's all from UFC 324, the very first major event on its new home Paramount Plus. And this wasn't just any card. It was headlined by that massive brawl between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett. I mean, this was supposed to be the start of a whole new era for the UFC. Naturally, Paramount wanted to show off, so they released a few key figures to really drive home how big this debut was. So let's do exactly that. We're going to break them down one by one to get the full picture, starting with that big ol' headline number. So that 4.96 million, that's the average number of people who were watching at any single moment during the entire broadcast. And that's across both the US and Latin America. Think of it like this. It's the steady, consistent viewership, the baseline for the whole event. But, of course, viewership isn't just a flat line, right? It ebbs and flows. And this event, it peaked at a very impressive 5.93 million concurrent viewers. That's the moment when the most people were watching at the exact same time. You can probably guess this was right during that main event. And then we've got this number, which tells a totally different story, 7.18 million. This represents the total number of unique households globally that tuned in at some point during the event. It's not about who was watching at one time, but who dropped in at all. It's all about the broadcast's total reach. Okay, so we've got these big, impressive numbers. They look great on paper. But, and this is a big but, to really get what they mean, we have to look at how they were calculated. And it turns out the how is just as important as the what. And that brings us to the million-dollar question. Well, the $7 billion question, but we'll get to that. So how exactly are these numbers measured? Are we talking about the same system used for, say, the Super Bowl or the World Series? Well, the short answer is nope, not really. And right here, this is where things get a little tricky. You see, Paramount used its own data, stuff from Adobe Analytics and info from partners like Prime Video and Apple TV. But the traditional industry standard, the one we've all heard of for decades, is Nielsen ratings. And these are two fundamentally different ways of counting eyeballs. So what's the big takeaway here? It's actually pretty simple. Because they're using these totally different measurement tools, you can't really compare UFC 324's viewership directly to other big sporting events that use Nielsen. It's just not an apples-to-apples comparison at all. So, okay, the headline numbers look great, right? But that initial press release, it kind of left us with a few big questions. Let's look at what the data doesn't tell us. First off, they lumped the US and Latin America together. We don't know how many viewers came from where. And maybe even more important, we have no idea how many new subscribers this event actually pulled into Paramount Plus. I mean, for streaming services, that is the holy grail metric. And get this, these figures don't even account for what's called co-viewing. When you have a bunch of friends over to watch the fight. So the actual number of eyeballs could be way, way higher. So why are we getting so into the weeds on all this? Why does all this nuance matter so much? Well, it's because these numbers are tied to an absolutely massive bet that Paramount made on the UFC. Yeah, this isn't just a one-and-done kind of thing. Paramount and the UFC, they are in this for the long haul. We're talking about a 7-year deal that basically locks them together. And the price tag on that deal? Hold on to your hats. A staggering $7.7 billion. Yeah. So when you've got that much money on the line, you better believe that every single viewer, every new subscriber, and every little data point is going to be put under a microscope. So what's the final verdict? Where does all of this leave us? Look, the numbers are undeniably impressive, but the different ways of measuring things, plus all that missing data, it makes calling a definitive winner pretty tough. So was it a first-round knockout? Maybe not, but it was for sure a powerful opening statement in what's going to be a long and, honestly, a fascinating partnership. The real question is, was this big debut enough to justify that massive bet? Well, that's a story that's going to unfold over the next 7 years, and you can bet we'll be watching.